Today on Round Enough, we are sharing a special crossover episode with Odalys Jasmine, host and the voice behind Hella Latina. This conversation comes from a live panel where we gathered in real time to talk culture, identity, visibility, and what it means to claim space unapologetically as Latinos in media. Odalys has built Hella Latina into a bold, honest platform that centers our stories with humor, care, and clarity. This episode captures the electricity of that room, real voices, real questions, joy, and the power of showing up together. Enjoy.
I want to ask about liberation. What is liberation to you, and how do you live it, and how can we all live it?
In doing what you love, and doing what calls what your soul is like pinching at you and nagging at you to do.
I think liberation is a journey. There's self-liberation, but there's also collective liberation. Syria actually was just liberated in December. And even after Syria was liberated, I couldn't help but think that we're not free until all of us are free.
Y'all been in love? You know that first moment? Like that first moment when you fall in love, traffic is perfect. Nothing bothers you. Life is perfect.
It's a Lulu.
It's unbelievable.
What's good, familia? Welcome to Hella Latina podcast, where I hand the mic back to people, the first gens, the immigrants, the Latinos, the brown people, because if we don't tell our story, who will?
Give an introduction, who you are, what you do, and what does it mean for you to live in the in-between? When you hear those words, what does it mean to you?
I'm Love. I go by Love Baila. I'm a dancer and a DJ. Both of my parents are immigrants. My mom is from Panama. My dad is Panamanian and Colombian. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. You asked what does it feel to be like in the in-between?
When you're first gen in-between, all that.
I hear power. I hear strength. I hear community. Being first gen is such a powerful thing, and I feel like also being in LA and seeing so many first gen, we are the community leaders, you know, and we are bringing everything that our parents and our countries taught us here. So when I hear that, I hear power.
Love that.
Hi, my name is Farah, or in Arabic it's Farah. I'm a lawyer, but primarily a content creator. My content, it's so interesting because I think I had started teaching Arabic. It was my mom that was telling me to kind of tap into my Arab roots, but I was very shy from doing it at first because I never felt like I was Arab enough. I always felt like I was too Western for the East and too Eastern for the West. And I think it was so interesting to me because I think I put out my first video and it had to do with being Arab, and there were people that resonated with being in between. And kind of redefining what it means to be, whether it's Latina or Arab, and being able to get back to your roots and essentially make your own definition. You're never too much or too little of something to be able to get back to your roots, and I think that's kind of what in between means to me.
Love that.
What's up, y'all? Christopher Rivas, Dominican, Colombian, New Yorker. Queens, shout out.
She said.
Yeah, you know. And Queens is a big part of it, right? Because Queens is the most diverse place in the world. That's not like a statement, that's a fact. It's the home to 138 spoken languages. I can maybe name 20, right? So I come from a melting pot. And so I know that like many colors can make a delicious soup over and over again. I actually know that that's the best soup. I'm an artist. I tell stories for a living. Some call it a multi-hyphenate. I think story is important. Everything is a story when you've been made to believe or chosen to believe. Knowing the difference is profound. Or until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. This is why the lion must write.
Yeah.
In between to me is more spiritual. Like I think anyone who thinks they're something is already lost. Like we live in the middle. The middle is the whole world, and we live in a world right now with a lot of conflict, and it's because everybody wants to be this or everybody wants to be that. And I think peace lives in this beautiful middle space where you have the courage to be yourself as you are. Yeah.
Period.
You said one of my favorite proverbs, and the reason I started this podcast is because for a long time, and I think we can all relate in our different ways, whether you're Arab, Latino, or anything else in between, is there's a lot of stories about us, and we're rarely the authors of those stories. And so it's about us having the mic back and telling the stories from our point of view. So I want to know, when was the moment for each of you when you're like, I'm too East for the West and too West for the East, or too Latina for, the Americans, or too, like, when did you start to feel like you weren't in the middle? I'm gonna start with you. When was that moment, that defining moment?
Oh, man, I mean, there are so many. Like, again, I grew up in Queens, right? So, but I also went to school in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, and my best friend lived in the Bronx, and I had a friend in Staten Island. And, I'm one of the only Dominicans, who was bar mitzvahed. Like, I grew up in Queens, New York, right, with mad Jews, and so when I turned 13, they surprised me and threw me my very own bar mitzvah in the park. Like, grape juice, man, Shevetz, Challah, Baruch Atah Hashem, the whole 9 yards. So I knew I was like a little bit of everything anyway. Like, I could speak many tongues. Yeah. Not just languages, many tongues. Like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Like, oye, flaco, ¿cómo está? I had that ability. And then I was in a lot of white spaces. I am an actor and have done a lot of acting. And I had managers who told me to get a nose job and managers who told me to cut my hair. And so I just needed to fall in love with myself. And so my journey is a journey of reminding myself I am enough. It's why I wrote a book called Brown Enough. But if you took away the brown, it would just be enough. Like, I am enough as I am, as you are all enough as you are.
What about you?
I think it was finding my way back to community. I didn't feel alone anymore because there were other people in between. I think that is the moment I felt like I can redefine, because I met so many different people that wouldn't necessarily go into the box of what it means to be Arab or what I thought it meant to be Arab. And one of the, I think, biggest moments was I did a pageant. I've never done pageants. I've never thought I would do this. So much respect for it. But I remember my mom said, hey, there's this pageant. I think it came up on Facebook for her. She was very excited. She was like, you have to do this. And I was like, I don't want to. She's like, free trip to Arizona. I've never been to Arizona. Didn't know I wanted to go, but I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. So I ended up doing it. And the main thing that drove me was they had a fundraiser for Syrian immigrants. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I'm Syrian. I have the biggest Syrian pendant on me. You can't miss it. But I go and I met so many different Arab women from the Bronx, from all different states that were from Syria, from Tunisia, from Lebanon, and they did not fit what in my mind it meant to be an Arab woman. And I resonated with them so much, and I think that is kind of what brought me back to my culture, where I was like, they're Arab. If they're Arab, as am I. And they're not very conventional, but that doesn't take away from them being Arab. And I think that was the kind of driving force that kind of got me back into my culture. So shout out to the Facebook ad that came on my mom's page for Miss Arab.
Shout out to your mom. Shout out to your mom. Oh, I love that. What about you, Love?
I think when I was, I always have felt like in between, because I think the moment I realized it, I was, I think, 3rd grade, and my mom had me in a program where I was able to learn how to write and read in Spanish. So being from Cali, I grew up in the Bay. Bay Area. In Cali, it's predominantly more Latinas, not like a lot of Afro-Latinas here. Yeah. And I remember one time a little girl goes like, but you're not Latina. You're not. And then she would grab my hair and be like, pero ¿por qué tu pelo es así? So, it was, and I would go home and be like, Mom, what am I? I was just so confused. Gracias. I would always be so confused of what I was or what to say I was, because I'm not just Latina, I'm Afro-Latina. and also being born in the US. So it was just a very confusing thing for me. But as I got older, and it's still a learning process of just realizing that there's so much power in all of those sides.
And I love that you talked about that too, because even within all of our communities, right, Arab, Latina, in between, there is so many sub-communities, and there is so much more diversity in sazones and sabores, and it's about talking about all of it. There's space for all of it. I think sometimes we have the one narrative, the one that's accepted, but we have so many parts of us that makes us beautiful. And even just each of you growing up in different places and spaces, like, just shows that. I want to ask you a question on that, being Afro-Latina. How have you owned all of the sides of you? Because I can say from your music, I can see how you own your identity, but what were the things that you did to start to own all the different sides of you?
I think, just like I said before, I just realized that there's a lot of power in all of my sides. I do like to lean a little more towards the Afro-Latin part of me, just because when you first see me, that's what you see. And also in our communities, it's not very much celebrated. It's starting to be, but I think growing up, pelo malo, or eres más negrita, or no te pongas en el sol que te vas a poner más negra, stuff like that. So I just love to lean a little more towards just like, I'm Afro-Latina, I'm proud. So I think I always just, also with my dance and my DJing and all of that, I try to show that I am all of these parts, and I'm very proud of them, and I hope that it resonates not only with what I look like, but also what I'm playing, what I'm saying, what I'm dancing to. And I also like to always give like a backstory if I'm teaching reggaeton, where reggaeton comes from.
Can you tell us where it comes from so the people know?
Well, I'm a firm believer that a lot of our favorite music genres come from Afro people and Afro-Latinos. Reggaeton started and was inspired from Jamaican people, and being a Panamanian, in Panama, and when they started building the canal and things like that, we had a lot of Caribbean immigrants that came to work. And they stayed. So we embraced the food, the language. We even talk we say gyal, we say man, So we embraced the food, the culture, the music. And that's when Panamanians started hearing reggae, and they started reggae, pero en español. And that's where reggaeton started. And shortly after, it went to Puerto Rico, and they named it reggaeton, but it started with the Jamaicans, the Panamanians, and then to Puerto Rico.
Period. Can I give you your flowers in front of everybody? She's a DJ, she's popping. A few people knew her. Jackie's like, I partied with her before. But sorry Jackie, I have your name all over this. But she's gonna DJ after, so stay and enjoy, dance, all the things. And Farah, am I saying it right? Farah.
Yes.
I want to talk about misconceptions in the community. What's one misconception that you think people have about your community, and how do you debunk them? How do you talk about them in your content?
I think all of it. I think earlier you had said about how we finally have the mic to tell our narrative. Mm-hmm. So my family came here about 2 months prior to 9/11. And so when 9/11 happened, the only Arab representation or Muslim representation you saw in the media was so negative. Mm-hmm. So I shied away. I think I was so excited when I found out, and I think I had said this on the TikTok panel. Yes. That is how we met, by the way.
TikTok creator, follow her.
Yes. I remember finding out Akon was Muslim. Ironic, because it was during his Smack That era. But that was the closest thing to representation, And so I think there are so many misconceptions about whether it's the Latino community or the Arab community. And what is so beautiful about even moments like this is we are able to take the several mics back, actually, and tell our narrative in our own and share our experiences. I I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And speaking of misconceptions, there's also cycles that I think we continue and that we break. And I think, Chris, you talk about this so beautifully in your book and in your content as well. We inherit a lot of power, a lot of wisdom, and we also inherit parts that maybe we don't want to keep. Maybe the unconventional parts or the things that we're rebranding. What are some things that you continue, some things from your culture that you're going to take with you forever, and some cycles that you're learning how to break or redefining?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it beautifully, right? Pelo malo, mejorando la raza, bettering the race. There are many grandmothers and mothers and fathers who warn us, don't date someone darker than you. Don't date coarse hair, big lips, big noses. Date someone who's a ve fino. This is still very prevalent in our culture. There is so much anti-blackness that is deep in the Latino culture, probably in your culture, right? I think there are many cultures, as long as colonialism, imperialism exists, we have been trying to chase whiteness because, as Howard Gardner puts in A History of America, the greatest trick whiteness ever pulled was convincing people it was better to be born white than born black. Mm-hmm. And so when we attached money to whiteness, we have been chasing that ever since. And that is our work we have to do on a daily basis to remind ourselves that is not true. That is a story that was sold to us. And so what does that mean in my own, like everybody and their mother does 23andMe, but what does it really mean to know where you come from? Like, what does it really mean to know what's in your blood? I'm Dominican. What's in my blood? A 30,000 person genocide overnight. 30,000 Haitians. That's in my blood. We have to be honest about that. My grandmother's black. You call her black, she'll get mad at you. We got to be honest about why that is, right? Colombia, that's the other half of me. Cartagena was once known as the chocolate city. That's literally where we sent every black person. And so these are the things we need to be really, really honest about. In our own hearts, in our own families, in our own mirrors. And so I think that's something I'm interested in, is like what's really in your blood. Not just like, I'm a 7%, Middle Eastern. What does it really, really mean? And how do you show up in the world with all that you are?
I want to ask you both that same question. What are things that maybe have become clear to you that you are owning, or maybe things that you're just unlearning, rebranding, rewriting? What are parts of your story?
Oh my God, I think what I'm unlearning and the biggest struggle for me has been my hair, So that's since I was, I would say 5, my mom has been perming my hair, like to make it straight. So, and it's just been a year of me stopping that process.
All the claps.
So I'm finding, my power and the love, and like when I comb out my hair and I wash it and I look in the mirror, it's still a huge process and step that I'm taking towards loving that, because all those things that I would hear desde chiquita, ay, qué feo, no, escóndelo, ponte gel, que tan parado, So, I would say that's something that I'm really relearning and trying to love. That's something that really comes to mind for me.
Love that.
I love this question, by the way, because I actually just launched a brand that tackles exactly this. So I just launched a brand. It's called Lishta. Lishta in Arabic means why not. Translates the same way as you would use it in English. And it is based on the idea of questioning things that, growing up, I would hear things from my mom, and she would say there's this term in Arabic that says it's shameful. And there's a lot of aib, that shame, that kind of, it's like a shame cloud, I think, around being an Arab woman, where it's like, you don't do this, you don't do that, but why not? I think questioning the limits of both the East and the West is kind of the root in the Lishta brand, where a prominent theme, I think, in Arab culture, and I'm sure Latino culture as well, is cherry picking. Now, this is okay. But if you're a woman, you know, you can't do this. The standards are set very differently, whether it's by gender or whether it's you're too Eastern or too Western. I think questioning those things and saying why not and having conversations about those things. Because when you do ask why not, I think the person that you're asking it to is like, wait, I don't know why not actually. You know? And I think it's asking why not about societal limits within the West and the East.
Yeah. And this is why I wanted to have you on here, because Farah and I met through a TikTok event, and she talked about this, and I'm like, there's so much similarity between all of our cultures, and I wanted to talk about it because oftentimes we work in silos, but we're working toward the same mission. So how do we break those silos and come together and talk about liberation and solidarity and what that really looks like across all of our communities? Because there's so much crossover. There's so much Arab influence in Latin America. There's a Muslim influence in Latin America, which you talked about as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that we need to talk about it more. We need to have more solidarity, not the one that's like the black box on Instagram, like, hey, I'm about it, but like the one that's like, let's talk about it. Let's have real curiosity about all the people that coexist within the same communities of refugee and immigrants, because we're all here. We're all here just trying to navigate life and walk this in between, right?
That's another radical honesty moment, right? Because like, if the Cubans get their show, the Colombians are like, "Where's my TV show?"
Real.
And then when the Mexicans get their show, the Puerto Ricans are like, "Where's my TV show?" And if we're just going to continue living this zero-sum model, there's only enough room at the top for one winner. We ain't never going to get anywhere. And that's exactly how it's designed, to make you feel like you got to fight for what you can eat. And that's really hard to break. It's really, really hard to break. And so, it's why I use the term brown in my work. Like, there are more brown than anything else, right? We need to, like, if it can't be, Dominican, Puerto Rican, this, that, or Latino, Latinx, Latinx. There isn't a single term that can hold 36 different hips, colors, flavors, sazons. It's impossible. We are not a term. Newsflash, there isn't a box that can contain any single one of you. Like, no census is going to make you feel good about the beautiful vibrantness that you are. I'm sorry. Like, you are bigger than a box. And so, if we could really just truly celebrate each other, like, you got to win? Yo, that's a win for me. You got to win? That's a win for me. You got to win? Oh, God, thank you. I need you to win. I need you to win so I can win. I need you to win.
It's abundance. And I feel for a long time we lost that abundance. I talk about it often, but gold in Latin America was really abundant. So much that when colonizers came, they're like, we can build our economies off this. Whereas we're like, you want gold? Here, have it. We use it for religious purposes. And this, we use it as an abundant source. And I think that over the years through colonization, there's been so much scarcity in the way we operate. And it's, oh, you have that, why can't I have that too? Or I want a piece of the cake, but I'm like, there's cake for all of us. Hay tamales para todos, there's tamales for everyone, Like, how do we tap back into the parts of us that is abundant? And if we really, at least for me, like when I look back at my family and I'm like, man, we were like dirt poor, but we found ways. We found ways to feed the whole block. We found ways to give. We found ways to hold space for people, to have coffee, to give what we could. And so I think that abundance is everything. How do we move toward abundance, in your opinion?
Dale.
This is it. I mean, we're doing it, right? Like, we're in space together. It's community. That's what drew you to this work. It's people. Abundance is people. And at the end of the day, every single person here is just walking into a room wanting to know that they are enough to be loved. That's it. Like, everything you've ever done in your life is to know that you are enough to be loved. Everything you've ever purchased. Like, if the things you consumed were actually meant to fill you, don't you think you would be full by now?
Yeah.
They're meant to leave you emptier than you were before you started.
Drop the mic, come on.
So I'll see you next week. But we do, we consume and we consume and we consume. But all we want to do is be loved. You can't buy it. You just got to show up. And there's this great poem by Hafiz. It's called That Sweet Moon Language. And he says, walking around with that look in your eye, saying what everyone else wants to hear, love me. So just say it, love me. And then they'll go, you too? Oh, me too, love me. And you say, I love you. And they say, I love you. It's people, it's community.
Love, I want to ask you, how do we move toward abundance? How do we move toward real solidarity?
I literally what you're saying, piggyback off of what you're saying. I do believe that it comes in community, and showing up for each other. I see it all the time, like when I hold classes or whatever, like what I was saying earlier when I'm DJing, the people that show up and the way that we speak about each other and for each other is so beautiful. And it's usually either immigrants or first gen, that my community that I have. And I really do believe that we find abundance in that because we crave it. Our bloodline, our ancestry is about that, is about community, is about dance, is about music, and it's being in this country, sometimes we lack it with the overconsumption and all these things. So when we find our community, I feel like our soul and our bloodline is like clapping, yes, I need that, So yeah, I do believe that it comes in community.
And Para, you have a beautiful story of community and how you found it in the Latino community. Can you talk about it?
I actually cried about this full circle moment, about being on a Latina podcast, because I didn't grow up around Arabs. I actually found my way back to my Arab roots later on in life, probably in the last 3 years. I actually grew up immersed in the Mexican community. And I think having immigrated here and looking for, parts that reminded me of home, I found home in the Latino community. I grew up, probably the primary parts of my childhood immersed in, Mexican culture, and that is how I found community. I think it was, whether it was Sunday morning and, like reggaeton or like, Spanish music playing, and I found community and I found home somewhere I didn't expect to. And when I look back at it, I see the similarities and why I found home in the Latino community, because we're cousins. I will always say our languages even. I think in Spanish you have azúcar, Arabic we have sikkar, pantalones, pantalon. It is
aceituna,
zeytun, and I found home away from home in the Latino community, and so it's an honor to be on my first podcast. And it being
first podcast.
My first podcast.
There's this guy in Rochester called the Empanada King, and anytime before he caters a thing, he gives you this incredible monologue, and he tells you the pierogi, empanada. Samosa, empanada. Cannoli, empanada. He hits you with every single culture's empanada. He goes, what do you need? Flour, water, salt, empanada. Everybody got an empanada. Stop fighting each other. You all just want empanadas.
We love our carbs.
That's all he said. Just want empanadas.
In Arab culture, we have menaish or flatayet.
Empanadas.
It's literally empanada.
Everybody got an empanada.
Hey, did y'all have some empanadas? Did y'all like it? I'm gonna tell the Theo you liked it. What's one narrative that you're reclaiming from your culture, your people, your community, where you're from? What's one narrative that you're reclaiming actively?
Empanada, no.
Empanada.
Y'all, we're gonna take a quick break because support your girl if you want to keep listening to these conversations. I have shirts, Hella Latina, Hella Brown hats, Hella Brown anything that you want, and also have Hella Brown, Hella Worthy candles. 50% of the proceeds go to Chirla, an immigration rights organization.
A narrative that we're reclaiming.
And here's the context that I'll give to everyone. Each of them, as they kind of spoke, they do it in their own way. They reclaim narratives in their own way, whether it's through dance, through music, through content creation, through even being a lawyer, period, and through being an author, an artist. You guys are all storytellers in your own way, and the biggest part of storytelling is reclaiming. It's reclaiming narratives, or even maybe just putting people on narratives that they haven't heard before. I mean, I remember growing up being the only Honduran most times. My brother's here. He's the witness. We were like the only Hondurans in San Diego, and we were like, yeah, look, I'm Honduran. And they're like, Hungarian? I'm like, no, Honduran. And it was like, no, we don't. We eat like plátano and we eat yuca. And they're like, oh, you don't eat spicy? No, not really. So it was a lot of like educating people. And that was part of me reclaiming like, we are a beautiful part of Latinidad. They're a beautiful part of the culture that people just don't know enough about, so let's talk about it. So I'm curious for all of you in your own way. You all do it so special. What's one part of just you that you're reclaiming?
I think like what you were saying, I really find a lot of power, or like, power is not the right word. I think I find a lot of love and self-fulfillment and educating.
Yeah.
I think also, like I said, being from California where there's not a lot of Afro-Latinos, I'm in a community with a lot of Latinas, mainly women, that actually had no idea that people like me sometimes exist, or like what the music we're listening to or dancing to comes from. So I would say, yeah, and educating and saying like, hey, this music comes from here, and then it all connected us in a way. So yeah, I think and educating is something how I find.
Question for all of you: did you know where reggaeton came from, or did you just learn that today? See, look at you already. Now you're gonna tell your people, and it's gonna create a chain reaction. Now everybody's gonna know. Everyone's gonna know.
I love that.
What about you, Farah?
I think for me, it's about reconstructing the box that was set for me to define myself as being an Arab woman. I've never felt like I fit into the box. So kind of destroying that box and recreating a box that belongs to me. And that can belong to each person. Because like you said, it's very hard we can't box even, I think, a word. That's why I always say Arab. So I'm Syrian, but I try to represent all Arabs. But even that is a box we're putting ourselves into. So I think for me, it's the destruction and the reconstruction of the box that fits me how I want to fit into that box. And I still don't even want to sit in that box, actually. And then we do it again and again. If I don't align with that box, I go to the next one. You know?
Or you're all the boxes.
All the
You
boxes.
know, all the boxes. Period. Yes.
I made a lot of art that was about being Latino or brown. And I don't do that anymore at this moment in my life because I am that. I don't need to tell people that. And I'm grateful for the art I made, and I'm grateful for the way like people were seen in it and are seen in it. But now I believe in like, I wrote my next book is a fiction book, and it's just about like two people. And it's based on a film that's being made, and it just happened to be Latino, but it's not about them being Latino. Like it's just people. Like we just need to be people again.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a reggaeton superhero, it would be tight. But like, what if, you're just
She's
a
like,
superhero,
do you? I don't know.
You're just a superhero and you listen to reggaeton and you know its history is from Jamaica. And, I want to make art that's just us being us, like a lawyer. That's it. You're not an Arab lawyer, you're just a lawyer. It's beautiful, and people are going to want to put that box, you're an Arab lawyer. You're just a lawyer, right? You're just medicine, you're just love. Like, and that's really beautiful. And so I just want to make art. That's how I reclaim it, by just being people.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to that, there's so much dehumanization that happens in all of our communities, right? And to be human again, that's beautiful, because we are human. All of us that are here, just learning how to love each and every part of ourselves without having to fit in the box, without having to fit this certain narrative and say like, miss me with the narratives, like this is who I am and this is all the things that I am and this is what you can be too. And I think that's the difference, is you grow up without a lot of examples of what you can be, and then you create what you wish you had when you were younger, and that's the healing.
Yeah.
Because now young people are looking at you like, oh, I could be a DJ too and talk about the history of reggaeton and put people on. I could be brown enough and beautiful, I don't gotta do this, I'm gonna do that, to be like an actor, to be an artist. I can be a content creator and a lawyer, I can do all the things. And I hope you all feel that too. To that point, we're here because, again, all these proceeds go to Chila. There's actually hot sauce right behind. Man's over here with the blue beanie. These hot sauces were delivered by someone who's been following the podcast for a while, and this is his great grandmother's recipe that he's passed down through generations. $6, take it. All proceeds go back to Chila. And then there's also candles there, collaboration with Casita Michi, another candle. She is indigenous Argentinian, which if you didn't know, it exists. And she's from the Bay too, and that's a collaboration we did. All these proceeds, there's hats that Matrix is wearing, all this merch, all the proceeds go back to Chila. So we're here because we're fighting for our immigrant and our refugee communities. And so I wanna ask the question. I'll start with you, Farah, because you're here, you're Arab, you're basically Latina. Okay, we're cousins, like you said. I want to ask you about you're a refugee and you have that experience with you. How do you educate people in all these different identities that exist, right? There's Latino, there's indigenous, there is immigrant, refugee, Arab. All these different communities that may not see their struggles intertwined, but all the struggles are intertwined. How would you educate people on what true solidarity looks like, and how do you help people see their struggles in each other and all these different buckets and boxes, right? Is that a complex question?
A bit. Yeah. You have so many answers now. I think you had actually asked me this on the TikTok panel. And I remember you asking, how can I, a Latina, show up for the Arab community? Yeah. And it actually reminded me of one of my friends. Her name is Maya. I've known her since I think I was 13. She's Mexican, and she showed up to this event my friend had put on, and proceeds went to Palestine. And seeing her, I cried. I don't know if you guys can tell. My eyes are watering now. I cry a lot, but not really a lot. I get touched a lot, and I remember I was in the club, my eyes were tearing up. Because just her showing up. I think just her showing up. And we are all far more similar than we think we are. Yeah. Whether it's our language, whether it's how our community shows up for each other. Yeah. And I don't think there's a specific way you can do it. I think at the end of the day, it's showing up and being there for each other. I think that was a very complex question, and now I'm like trying to answer each part of it.
Yeah, it's really how do we build bridges? I guess that's the question. How do we build bridges between all these different communities and sides of all of our communities that exist, right?
I think it's unlearning a lot, because like you had said, even in Arab culture, there's interracial racism. It's very weird, because I think, yes, whether it's colorism, where different countries will look at other countries, and like you said, like, you may give like someone from Colombia a podcast, why can't someone from this, like, it's that kind of mentality that we have in the Arab world that I really hope we unlearn, because that kind of stops us from unifying within to unify outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
What about you, Love? How do we build bridges between all of our different communities, the immigrant, the Afro-Latino, the Latino, all the flavors?
Well, actually, it's so interesting because your story is kind of like mine, but in the opposite way. I actually went to Islamic school when I was little, and I grew up around a lot of Arabs, and my husband is Arab Egyptian, and we're Muslim. So I think just being around so many different types of people and communities kind of builds that bridge, And then, like you were saying, when you're just showing up for each other, you're saying like, oh, we're the same. We're going through the same things. So yeah, I think if we don't really know how to start, it's just showing up and or even being around all type. If you're like, okay, I'm always going to this type of event or party or restaurant, just reaching and going somewhere else. Maybe I'll go to an Egyptian restaurant today, maybe, and then you'll see how similar we are. And yeah, I think that's where we can start.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you the same question, but in a different type of way.
Okay.
How do we show up for the people that are not in this space, the ones that are the immigrants, the refugees that are actively part of Chile or trying to find ways to exist, to live? What does liberation look like, and how do we help them get there? How do we walk alongside them?
Y'all know what bonsai is?
Bonsai?
Bonsai.
Oh,
Like a
bonsai.
So in the art of bonsai, you plant a tree off-center to make space for the divine. You consciously choose to leave the center open. All of us are the center of our own lives. It's fucking unreal. It's amazing. It's amazing that you walk outside and 7 billion people are the lead in their own movie. They're the director, they're the screenwriter. They never make room for another person. If they do, they're a co-star, maybe a guest star. Maybe.
If that.
If that. But you are the lead of your own life. And so my invitation to you is, what does it look like to plant yourself off-center? For just a second, just a day. Make room for somebody else. Look at somebody else and say, I will put you at the center of my life for an hour. When you're at you're getting a coffee every day at the same barista, say, I want to put you at the center of my heart. See what that feels like. Be a bonsai, just for a day. And if you like the way it feels, be a bonsai for another day. If you like the way that feels, maybe a third day. Plant yourself off-center, just a little bit.
Be a bonsai, that's a bar. I'm going to open it up to Q&A, but before I do, think of your questions. I want to ask you all, if you had your younger self sitting in front of you, what would you tell them? And what would you tell them? The first gen that's looking at you, that's sitting right in front of you, it's like little Chris, little Farah, little Love, that's just like looking up at you. What would you tell them?
That's easy. I mean, I wrote a whole book about it. You are like, you're so damn perfect as you are. Like, stop trying to, be something for somebody. Man, love yourself, yeah.
Spoken like a Leo.
It's my season still.
It's my season too. Shout out to the Leos in the room. You see them?
Wow. Wow.
Hey, we got.
Damn.
Hey, I be recruiting some Leos. Yes. Love, what about you? What would you say to your younger self?
I would just say keep going, keep trying, believe in yourself, believe in your heart. I didn't have the best childhood, so I would just say keep going, keep trying.
I actually keep young me in the back of my phone, so she comes with me everywhere. Small picture of her. I think everything I do is actually for her, because something that isn't talked about enough in terms of the first generation immigrant journey is being a first generation immigrant child. Because you're learning English while your parents are learning English. You're in first grade trying to read immigration papers. And so you carry a weight. I think it's the weight that comes with seeing the struggle that your parents kind of went through to build the foundation that allows you to chase after your wildest dreams, the opportunities. And I think that guilt kind of, it's not a guilt, I think it's a guilt of having it, but also seeing that back home, a lot of people don't have it. And that guilt kind of turns into drive, like you become ambitious and you don't want to let your parents down because you know how much they invested. And I don't like the term invested, but it's like how much they sacrificed, thank you. How much they sacrificed to allow you this opportunity. And so young me was always stressed. She was so stressed. I remember in 7th grade, I cried because I got a C- in PE. I couldn't do push-ups. I still can't. She was so stressed. I was like, oh my God, this is what my mom came to this country for. But I think for me, the reason I carry young me everywhere I go, because she wouldn't in her wildest dreams imagine that I've come back to my roots. I've broken away from a box. I've reconstructed a new box, and I might not even be in that box next week because I've, come into my own, and I've made my mom proud. And now everything I do is to make her proud. And I think she'd think I'm really cool. Anytime the worst day I've had, I look at that picture in the back of my phone, I'm like, she would think I'm really freaking cool, and that's all that matters.
We all think you're cool.
Thank you.
And can I just also say I love your grandpa so much.
Thank you.
What do you call him? Gito.
Gito, yes.
Gito.
Yes.
Abuelo Gito. She has this beautiful content with her grandpa, and it's literally what I live for. I'm like, yes, because you're reclaiming this, like, you're breaking the box, and you're also like, you're the in-between. Even generation-wise.
Yes, and I think what's so interesting is I'm the favorite grandchild.
Period.
I'm sorry, my brother and my cousin are here, guys. But my grandpa's not shy about saying it, and I love it. Because I can do no wrong. You know, I could do no wrong, and I love it, and he just, supports me on my wildest dreams. I think it's also having gotten the degree, because I went to law school fully as a plan B. Like, it's in the back of my, like, if my mom's like, what are you doing there? Thank God she's not. Neither is my grandpa. I think it's being my favorite grandchild. But I think I got the degree for them, and I do this for me and them because they're supportive.
Yeah, I love that. Any last words of wisdom before we open it up to questions? Do y'all got questions? Yeah. Oh, yes. We're gonna start here and then come over here.
Fire panel, great conversation. I love
That's all them.
I'm first generation as well, and something that I think about a lot for myself is legacy. I'm curious what that means for you individually.
Legacy. What does legacy mean for you all individually?
When I was in college, getting mad student debt, like ridiculous amount of student debt, I couldn't afford a gift for my parents for Christmas. And so I wrote this letter to my dad and to my mom. And I said, like, I'm doing all this for you, and This deep, like, I worked so hard on it. I cried while I was writing it. I was like, he's gonna cry. We're good. Like, this is a gift. And he read it, and he said, what the fuck is this? He says, you getting student debt for me? He says, you might fuck up my credit for me? You think we did this for you? We did this because this is how we love. Don't do this for me. Do it because you love it. You want to study acting. You want to do this. That's for you. Please don't do it for me. He said, like, only thing you could ever do for me is be love. Like, constantly be in places that you love. The best legacy from my father is I always said I want to make enough money to play ball whenever I want. Like, that's all I said. And one day my dad calls me, and he says, what are you doing? I say, I'm about to play ball. I'll call you back. And he says, you did it. Legacy.
Can I add to that just because my dad is in the room? Or he was. I think he's somewhere over there. Papi, Sali. But I have to give that man all the credit because similar, I was over here struggling, first generation college student, and we think that's the way, that's the how. I'm working this job that I hate, and I'm over here like, man, what am I doing with my life? I worked 3 jobs all through college to be in this job where I'm like not happy, and I'm making minimum wage, all the things. And I left. I ended up leaving, and I didn't tell anyone because there was deep shame of leaving a job because that's what you're supposed to do. That's the American dream. And I told my dad, I'm like, Papi, I left. I'm sorry. Like, I was so disappointed. He's like, I did not come to this country and worked all these jobs that I don't like. I literally worked with my hands so that you can work with your brain, so you get to decide. So legacy is choice. Legacy is having the choice to do something different or to pave a different path. So shout out to Papi for that. I hope you listen to that. Papi, come on, try. What about Farah, love? What about you two?
I think for me, legacy on a small scale is allowing people to feel like they can come back to their roots. How do I say this? I forget I'm perceived. Like, in my mind, I'm just a girl that made videos in my room. And then I come across people, like, I'm out and about, and I'm telling you guys, I get teary-eyed every time. I don't know how to play it cool. I'll never be nonchalant proudly. But how can you be nonchalant when someone comes up to you and they're like, because Arabic has a lot of dialects, and I taught Arabic, and I made Arabic very accessible. I kind of made it like, not dummies, but Arabic for dummies, because Arabic is multi-faceted and there's so many dialects. And I remember one time this girl comes up to me and she's like, thank you so much for allowing me to learn the Palestinian dialect, because I'm Syrian. Syrians, Jordanians, Lebanese people speak in the Levantine dialect. And she said, thank you so much, because I'm part Egyptian, but I've always felt embarrassed talking to my Palestinian side. And through your videos, I've been able to kind of, have the courage to tap back into it. And I think kind of that is a legacy I would love to leave behind, to allow people to never shy away from being able to come back to their language, their roots on their own terms. It's never too late. I think my journey of coming back to my roots and being so proud has only been in the last 3 years. I've always been Arab, and I think it's music that has always kept me. But I think it's that community and seeing people, and seeing myself in people and them seeing themselves in me is the legacy that I hope to carry on.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I think for me is when I hear the word, I don't know why, I automatically think of my family, my grandma, my grandpa, my mother, my father. And, this is a tough life that we live in, especially navigating, being from another country, but also being from here. And I think every time I'm going through something that's just like gut-wrenching, I just think of my family and how strong and just inspiring they are, especially like when I'm nervous, if I'm gonna perform or something like that. I think about my grandma, how she would tour Panama as a singer, and I just find so much like pride and power in that, and it immediately like just goes away. I just feel this like confidence. So I would say I hope to leave that for my future kids, or for any family member of mine, to, if they think back like, oh, if I'm a abuela one day, and they're like, my abuela was just so, unapologetic. And then I hope that, gives them a little fire, just like how my family does for me. So I would say that would be a legacy I would like to leave.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that question. Also, Daniel's like a G, and he's also a Leo, and he has this Saints. Saints is his company. He's all about mental health for men. And talk about it for Black and brown men. We need more of it. So thank you for holding that space. Talk to him after. He's so dope. We had a different question.
Yes. Hello everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you all for sharing your experiences and helping other first generations feel validated. And my question for you guys, obviously you came to the United States as young children, and we've heard stereotypes. And before we connected with your roots, how would you say that those stereotypes impacted your sense of self and self-esteem and how you would behave overall?
What a question. That's a question.
That's my cousin, everyone. Thank
Hi,
you for that question,
cousin.
baby.
That is a beautiful question.
Cutie.
That was a beautiful question. I think that earlier we were talking about the boxes we're put in and how our cultures or the narrative has always been not in our own hands. And I think, sorry, I'm getting emotional. I don't want to hug right now, but I'll hug you after. I love you so much. I think it's reclaiming your identity also involves breaking away from those stereotypes in whatever way that you may feel allows you to do that. I don't know, I'm getting a little nervous. My apologies, guys.
You're all good.
But I think there's so many stereotypes that we're able to break away from through kind of forging our own path of our identity.
That is such a beautiful, powerful question. I reflect on it all the time. I think every day I'm fighting stereotypes. I mean, at this age, the question that I get from my family is, you know, marriage, kids, this, that. I'm like, one thing at a time, y'all. Like, there's so many things. But I don't have a perfect answer, but I think that it's looking at the parts of you that you just want to reclaim, parts of you that you want to let go, parts of you that no longer serve you, and knowing that you are forever, ever evolving. And that is just the human experience. And you don't have to fit into a cultural box, a religious box, any type of box. You just have to just do life and know that you're enough either way.
I think this question is deeply tied to legacy because
Deeply.
we talk a lot about generational wealth. And yeah, get your bag, but also love yourself. There is nothing better you can give to your children and to a generation than to love yourself and to teach others how to love themselves. And that's, fighting whatever stereotypes, whatever you have to shed, whatever box you got to cut up, you got to make your own, you got to sew. That is generational wealth, and it's so beautiful to see someone be themselves.
Can I say, me and my dad were just talking, my dad is the homie, he's my best friend, but we were just talking about this because I love this series, Celia Cruz, do y'all know Celia Cruz? Mm-hmm. She had a show, she's like, yeah, there was a show that she had and I watched all of it, and at the very end, if you know, Celia Cruz, she was diagnosed with cancer and that's how she passed away, but at the end of that season, she has cancer and she starts going crazy. She's like throwing her clothes in the trash and she's like, what use is all of this money if I don't have my health? And I was talking to my dad about that. I'm like, we chase the bag so hard that we forget to take care of ourselves along the way, and then we end up with this mansion and all this money, and then we're sick, we're not well, we're losing hair, we're stressed, you know what I mean? What is all of this if we're not healthy, both in the spiritual sense and physical sense? And so, love that.
Celia Cruz, the salsero? Had a show?
She had not a real show. They made a show about her.
Oh, got it. I was like...
No. But the end of that show, I watched it with my parents because we love watching novelas together, bonding. But yeah, that was the end of the show and we ended up talking about it. But any other questions? Before we get the DJ going. No? You have a question?
That's our time, y'all. Make sure to check out Hella Latina wherever you listen to podcasts. There's a lot of incredible gems in there. And again, if you ever want to reach out to me, you want to reach out to us, send us an email at brownenoughproductions@gmail.com. I will talk to you soon, and I will see you next week. Peace and love.